the king of the division is Canelo. He's taking on Crawford. Like, I got to ask you, Gabe, you give such good perspectives. I know you've said a bit about this fight, but I would say like on a different angle now, like based on what we saw with Madrimov and based what we saw with Skull, has your mind changed at all on this fight? And if so, why?
I think I favor Canelo. I favor Canelo, not by a lot, but I do favor him. I just think that, I think the Skull fight was just a bad style. And I think Canelo was like, why force the issue? You know what I mean? I'm up. This guy's running. I'm not gonna take a chance. So I think that it was that kind of fight for Canelo. But Madrimov did give Crawford problems. You know what I'm saying? And where I felt like, damn, at 54, he gave you problems. 68 is different. You know what I'm saying? So you going up 3 weight classes, because he was 47, 54, 60, 68. That's 3 weight classes. It's a major difference, man. And one thing is like, right, so people are saying Canelo has problems with movers. But the reality is Crawford's not a mover. Crawford's not a fighter that fights on his feet in the sense of boxing, kind of like, let's say, how a Pernell Whitaker would box or how Landy Lara would box. Crawford is a fighter that works on angles. He's not on his feet like Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? He's not that kind of boxer. So he's going to be there to get hit, And I feel like that favors Canelo, because Canelo's going to hit you in the arms. He's going to hit you in the elbows. He's going to hit anything you give him, he's going to take it. You know what I mean? And now is Crawford just going to switch his style and become a mover, moving up 3 weight classes? So now you're going to put all that weight on your legs, and you never boxed like that before. How can you do that? I'm not saying he can't, but I just don't see him changing his style. I think Crawford's a guy that he has heart, and I think he really is a fighter. I think it's going to come a time where if Canelo catches him, his pride and his ego is going to get in there, and he's going to try to get his back. And I think that'll open opportunities for Canelo to land big shots.
It's funny that you mentioned what you just said, because I was thinking about those very things you said, because I've heard people, Crawford's just going to box him and move around. And I'm like, dude, Crawford doesn't do that. Like, he's never done that in any of those fights. Like, he's always been in the pocket or in mid-range and been able to counter and move. And I was thinking, like, okay, if he does incorporate trying to box, his body, I don't know, like, feel like there's no muscle memory there to like carry him on 12 rounds where like, I don't think it'll be a high pace, but like, is he used to that? Can he keep that pace for 12 rounds, given that he weighs more now and it might slow him down a little bit? Because, if you've seen him, he's bulked up a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And my thing is just like, it's like, let's say he can do it. I don't think he would do it, because I don't think that's in his DNA. Like, I don't think he's that kind of guy. Because for him to just go in there and be on his feet, that's survival. That's like survival mode. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see him going into this fight just to get a check. I think he really wants to win this fight. And in order for him to win this fight, he got to let his hands go. So I don't see him just moving around and throwing one jab, and just, I see him really trying to like set things up. And for Crawford to set things up, he has to sit down on his shots, because he's a power puncher and he's a killer in the sense, if he got you hurt, he's going to get you out of there. So, Crawford's not really that guy that's like, moving on his feet and coming in, kind of like a Usyk. Usyk is like got the footwork and the handwork, you know what I'm saying? He puts that together. Crawford's a guy that sits in the pocket and picks you apart in the pocket. So I don't see him. I could see him moving around. I just don't see him doing it consistently. You know what I mean? Not because he can't, just because I don't think it's his style.
Yeah, and on the flip side, I think, you're going to get like a super motivated Canelo. I feel like there's so much on the line, like, for him, even though there shouldn't, because his legacy has already been defined. But I feel like, one, it's like, I don't know, his legacy is defined, but I feel like there's also a lot on the line with his legacy if he loses to a Crawford. And I feel like this is a way to kind of like show people like, hey, like I'm able to beat a guy that you guys have said that I haven't been able to beat historically. Like, yeah, I stepped up, fought Floyd, couldn't beat him. I stepped up in weight, even though, Bivol was a lot bigger. And we've seen now that Bivol is just an elite level fighter. I fell a little bit short with him. Like, this is the guy where you guys say, this is pound for pound number one. Look, I beat him.
Yeah. And I think too, what motivates Canelo for this fight is that, they're looking at Crawford kind of like he's this generation, like he's Floyd. You know what I'm saying? And I think for Canelo, it's like he ain't fighting Floyd, but it's almost like he's fighting a style a little similar where it's almost like his get back. Like when he fought Floyd, he was too young. He was too inexperienced. And now it's like, I think what's motivating him now is like, I can adapt. I can beat a guy with this kind of style. So, it's the closest thing to Floyd, I would say, him fighting Crawford. So I think him getting that big win kind of like puts people into play where it's like, yeah, he was too young when he fought Floyd. You know what I mean? So I think that's an extra motivation for him because you got to find ways to find, motivation. And he never thought he would fight Crawford, but he got it. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. If like he saw this like as a way to like kind of prove to people like, hey, I can beat like a style like Floyd, even though Crawford and Floyd are different, but there's such high esteem like for that. But I like the way you put it. Like, yeah, this is like get back for that to like show that I was inexperienced back then. Look what happens now when I am experienced. Like I know how to handle this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like I said, man, I think it's gonna be a great fight. I think Crawford, I think he's gonna come to fight, but I think we're gonna see a different Canelo. I mean, I think Canelo been coasting, just because it's like, why take a risk? I don't have to take a risk. I'm Canelo Alvarez. I'm the face of boxing, but this one's way different. You know what I mean? So I think we're gonna see a different Canelo, man.
The one lingering thing that I know a lot of fans have been thinking about, and even me thinking about is, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Madrimov gave Crawford trouble. Madrimov landed, and that's a 154 guy. And we know, at least we don't think Crawford's going to be moving so much like a Lara or like a Skull. I'm like, how long can he like evade these punches from Canelo where like rounds 9, 10, 11, 12, they really start like taking effect in the fight?
Yeah, for sure. And here's another thing. Crawford's last fight was how long ago? Over a year, right?
Yeah, the Madrimov fight.
Yeah, so that's over a year, right? So in boxing, taking shots, getting hit with 16-ounce gloves and a headgear is completely different than getting hit with 10-ounce gloves, right? And when you go a long time when you're not feeling that 10-ounce glove in a real match, and time goes by, the body has to adapt to absorb that kind of shot again. Now you got to take a shot from a 168 pounder. So you ain't been hit with a 10-ounce glove for over a year. Now you don't even know what it feels like to get hit by a 168 pounder with a 10-ounce glove, right? So I'm telling you, it's just going to be a different kind of power. Those 16-ounce gloves, and I don't care how big and heavy those guys you sparring, it's just not the same. It's not the same. You know what I mean? I think Floyd Mayweather said it when he had fought when he fought Mosley. He had took time off, and the next thing you know, Mosley clipped him and he got rocked. He was rocked in that fight bad. And one of the things Floyd had said was, I just was out for so long. I just wasn't used to the 10-ounce, getting hit with a 10-ounce. It ain't the same. So like, going into this fight, Crawford is fighting a guy 3 divisions bigger, and you ain't been hit with a 10-ounce glove in over a year. It's just different. It's different. So if he's able to take that shot, man, I give him mad props, but I just think it's different. That's like me. I'm 168 pounder. That's like me going to cruiserweight.
Yeah.
It's a different power, man. And that's why there's weight classes, bro. You know what I mean? There's weight classes for a reason.
Yeah, it's I'm like thinking like how would like a guy who's 54 like how big of a difference would it be to get hit by like a super middleweight? And I'm thinking like, well, okay, Gabe, you fought Golovkin, like one of the hardest hitters
Yeah.
like in the division. And I'm just thinking like to equate like, okay, this is what I'm used to getting hit by power wise by 47, 54, and then you go to a guy like a Canelo, and it's like, damn, what's the difference there? How is that going to feel like?
I'll be honest with you. So like if I'm sparring, right, and let's say I'm gonna spar a welterweight, because when you're sparring, like I said, is a bigger headgear and bigger gloves. So you'll spar guys maybe 2, 3 divisions under your weight class. And then I can even spar cruiserweights. You know what I'm saying? So I've sparred guys up to 200 and I've sparred heavyweights. You know what I mean? Um, but it's like in when I spar the guys in the lower weight classes and they hit me, bro, it's like no disrespect, but it just feels like you get hit with a pillow. It's just different. It could be a murderous puncher at 147, but if I'm walking around 185 and I'm a solid guy and I'm used to fighting guys, with a different kind of power, and I spar a guy that's a welterweight, it feels like a pillow. You know what I'm saying? It just feels completely, because your body is different to absorbing a bigger blow. So, you know what I'm saying? So I don't see how Crawford could hurt Canelo, because Canelo's been in there with Kovalev. He's been in there with Bivol. You know what I'm saying? He's been in there with big punchers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how can a guy that's really a 47 pounder, even though he's up in weight, I don't see how he could hurt Canelo. You know?
Yeah, and the other thing too is I always felt like the speed factor was like a huge advantage for Terrence, and I don't know how big of an advantage that's going to stay because he does look like he's bulked up a little bit.
Yeah. And my thing is this: I actually think Canelo's a faster fighter than Crawford. I think Crawford is
So
just because I think Canelo has faster. I think Canelo has faster hands, but I think Crawford puts his punches together more. But I think like on the like, let's say on the shots, like the quick shots or the quick hooks or the quick body punches, I think Canelo has the speed. I think Crawford just has better combos, better combinations. You know what I'm saying? But I never looked at Crawford as like a really fast fighter, like a Pernell or like a Floyd. I mean, I just think he's more of an accurate, sharp puncher. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, you would think him 54, he's going to be hand speed wise, movement wise, footwork like footwork placement wise, he's going to be like a lot faster fighter than Canelo. I just remember when the week before the Spence fight, they both worked out, and I saw Crawford's speed, and then I saw Errol's speed, and I was blown away, like the difference of like how much quicker Terrence was. And I remember I turned to my coworker and I told him like Terrence is going to win this fight. Like I already thought stylistically he would win, but that made it 100% in my mind. Like, dude, he's too quick for Errol. Like he's too quick. Like look at the workouts.
Yeah. One thing, man, like the more we talk about this, one thing is this: Crawford is special. So being special is a whole different weapon too, right? So, we can go, okay, I can say he's smaller and this and all that, right? But he is special. And there has been fighters that are smaller fighters that have moved up and done great things. So and that's not common. But when it happens, it's like Pacquiao has done it. Roy Jones has done it. James Toney has done it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like it ain't possible. And, fighters like Crawford just are like, they come every now and then. They're not common fighters. So look, man, everything I could say, I could have my points, but at the end of the day, you never know with a fighter of the quality of Crawford, because they're special. They're just different. You know what I'm saying? Like, who thought Dudang was going to be Antoine Barkley after Barkley knocked out Tommy Hearns? You know what I mean? And Dudang's 37 years old, ain't been active, and he comes in, he just beats Antoine. Like, you know what I mean? Who thought that George Foreman would knock out Michael Moore? You know what I'm saying? So, like, And that only happens with certain quality fighters. So like Crawford is that dude. So he might just like he might shock us. We don't know. But at the same time, Canelo's special. So I guess that's what makes this fight so intriguing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I can't wait. Yeah, and we've seen it like lately. Like the smaller fighter has been able to go up and wait and do well. Like everyone thought that Oscar was gonna hurt Manny when they fought. Same thing when Manny went up to 54 to fight Margarito. They thought the same thing. And look, you're right. The special fighters are able to go up and do that. The same with Duran. Duran goes 12 rounds with Hagler, but previously was knocked out by Hearns, and they thought, dude, this guy's crazy fighting Hagler. Hagler's going to destroy this guy.
No, yeah, real talk. It's different, man. Roy Jones went to heavyweight. Like James Toney became middleweight champion of the world and heavyweight champion of the world. You know what I'm saying? And he never been knocked out. He never been stopped. You know what I'm saying? He was fighting big heavyweights too. So it's like, I think Crawford is that special guy, man. I think he's a different breed, man. So